Hello, welcome to the Joseph Communication Book Club. I'm Tony Clarkson and I'm here with my good friend Michael G. Reccia.
Hi.
And I'm happy to say that the aspect we're going to discuss here today, which I have to tell you wasn't decided by me, it was decided by Jane, is the question I asked. So I tell you that because Joseph starts off his answer by saying, this is an excellent question. So
We've rewritten that bit, haven't we, Tony?
yeah,
Just kidding, folks.
I just thought I'd get that in before that I am capable of excellent questions.
Excellent question.
Okay. So my question, which doesn't sound all that over excellent to me, but anyway, the denseness and heaviness that accumulates, can it come from before life, or can it come also from external sources like the astral plane? And now, Joseph, that is an excellent question, and it is a long answer. Consider this. If you drag with you baggage from one life and have not learnt by the end of that life to let it go, isn't it reasonable to assume that you will also drag cumulative baggage that relates to the physical with you, so that when you reincarnate, it is waiting for you as a nice present? But that present isn't from anyone else, it's from yourself. You have not yet decided that you have had enough of these circumstances, and so you drag them around with you. It is inevitable, if you come back into physical body and you have not yet worked those things away from you, that they come to visit you and to haunt you once again. As I explained earlier, there is also a problem with low vibrations. When you become low, when you become upset, when you become disturbed or in pain, then you resonate at a certain low level. And unfortunately, there are existing at a similar level various thought forms, various entities, various spirits who have not learnt, who find you a very attractive snack indeed, who regard the vibrations that you are putting out as something that will draw them closer to the physical. And so they try to anchor onto you, to attach themselves to you, and to maintain, and this is important, to maintain the low level of energy that you are putting out. They cannot absorb higher levels of energy, but they can absorb your misery. And so you have people, do you not, who say, I've been depressed for days and I don't know why. I can't seem to find any joy in life and I don't know why. There is something you can do. And the something you can do is to raise your vibration above the level of those who would perpetrate your low level of vibration. You can do it in several ways, but meditation is the most effective way to go. You can see yourself traveling up an escalator, and at the bottom of the escalator, you have grey-green scenery. And as you progress up the escalator, it becomes increasingly light, until at the top you are stepping off that escalator into a land of perfect, brilliant, beautiful, loving, warm light. Stay there as long as you can, and then bring yourself out of your meditation by returning to this level of consciousness, and you will help to rid yourself of the thing that you pick up on a daily basis. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? It sounds like the earth is such a dangerous place. Well, I have news for you. It is. It is, and just as angels minister to you, there are darker aspects of mankind that would also communicate with you in a ruinous way if they got the opportunity. This is not a reason to be afraid. This is another reason to understand the mechanics of spirituality and the physics of spirituality. Once you understand something, then it loses its power over you. And please, if you wake up on a certain morning and think, I am depressed and I don't know why, begin to separate yourself from that depression. Begin to say, this is not me. Begin to say, where is this coming from? Begin to say, thank you very much, but I want no more of this. You can have back that gift. Begin to meditate and lift your vibrations. and see how quickly you will be on top form again and how much better you will feel. Michael, past life baggage.
Past life baggage and present life problems negatively impinging on us. Yeah, past life baggage. It makes you wonder why we come back here in the first place, which is one of Joseph's principal messages, isn't it? That we don't need to come back here if we don't want to. But we become so locked into the earthly experience that we think, I'll have one more go. I'll get things right this time. It will be a better life this time. I'm going to decide to come back to the earth and have another life.
And that's against the advice of all those advisors on the angelic realm around you.
Say move upwards and outwards and away from the earth. There are so many more glorious experiences for you awaiting you if you will just decide to move onwards and away from the earthly experience.
Because otherwise it's a bit like Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Exactly like Groundhog Day. Yeah. Because we come back here and we think, I'll get it right this time, forgetting that we attract to ourselves what we have had problems with in the past. So the challenges of the past still exist within the matrix of the field of human consciousness on a material level. And because we are attractive beings, not in the way that we look, but because we attract things towards ourselves, whatever our dominant beliefs happen to be, then inevitably when we come back here, we attract those vibrations that belong to us from past lives that we have not worked out.
And just so we get this clear, Michael, I think it's a really important point that you're making here. We don't have to come back. Karma, which people mention, I have to come back because I've got to get through this particular aspect of my karma. A lot of spiritual philosophies say that. Joseph doesn't say that, does he?
No, he says that karma, as he explains it, is the residue of our vibration that we put into the mix whilst we've been here as a physical being. And that moving away from karma is simply a matter of deciding we're going to move away from it. But we don't move away from it by placing ourselves back in that karmic theatre again. We move away from it by literally moving away into higher vibrations and saying, I've had that experience, now what's next?
Karma is not a punishment, is it? It's your life plan, isn't it?
Yes, and it's the vibrations that you attract to yourself as a result of the choices you make whilst you're here.
Yeah.
But they relate to this area of experience. They don't relate to other areas, spiritual areas of experience. So you can move away from them. But with many people, many souls, because they haven't believed in there being anything after physical death, because they haven't investigated what there might be beyond physical death, they're not prepared for what comes next. So they find themselves still existing, and they find themselves in a confused soup of their own making.
Yeah.
And they are given the choice, and the advice is don't go back to Earth. But because they are afraid of what comes next, because they haven't investigated it, they choose to go back to what they're familiar with and comfortable with, even if that's negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And bring themselves back into yet another incarnation where it's going to be tough.
And they're going to probably gain more emotional baggage.
Yes.
Which was what
so the
Joseph
anchor
was
is
saying.
even greater than it was, even
Yeah.
stronger than it was during their last incarnation. Yeah.
I can see the frustration on the guides around the person saying, you want to go back and have more pain?
Yes.
We can show you a route where there's no pain.
Yes.
And you want to go back and have more pain.
Yes. But as always, it's your choice.
Yeah.
We're not going to force you to go forwards. If you want to go back, then ultimately you go back. But that's not what we advise you to do as your friends, as your brothers and sisters.
And the probability for most people is that the emotional baggage that we're talking about will gain in size and shape and form.
And strength. Yes.
And strength.
And remains here until it's dissipated. And the reason it's not dissipated is to do with something that we will discuss, God willing, in a few months or perhaps even a few years' time, because we've got a lot of books to go through, and it's the fall.
We have.
And it's the fact that we cannot here clear away those negative vibrations as we would do in spiritual realms. The creation and destruction balance is wrong here.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it being wrong here, but that's a whole lot of segments that we will go through and examine later.
It'll be, I've read The Fall so many times. I was there when The Fall came through.
Yes.
And yet every time I read it and go through it, I get something new from it for my own personal growth. And so I really look forward to that
And
time
as
of,
people have said, at last it all makes sense.
yeah,
And I think that's the key theme of the fall. At last it all makes sense. That's why the earth is as it is. But not only at last it all makes sense, but here's how we can stop it being so negative and so violent and so power-seeking and so destructive.
for me, there hadn't been a plausible idea of how it all works and how we are until I read The Fall.
Yes,
And that's after reading a lot of books. And then all of a sudden it was like, eureka.
yes.
I understand it. I get it, why we weren't wrong. I get it, why we're here on Earth. So I look forward to,
So that's coming, so bear with us.
yeah, we digress.
We digress.
I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah. No.
Emotional baggage.
Yes.
So I think, have we said everything we need to say on that?
Yes, and it ties up with the last segment.
It does.
In which we discussed letting go, which is also vitally important, and how to do that whilst we're still in an earthly body.
And so I just personally, ending this, would like to thank Tony for asking that question.
I think it was fabulous. I don't know who Tony is, but he's great at asking questions.
It's definitely insightful, isn't he?
It's probably the best question we've ever had, I think.
Oh, I think it's even better than that. So, I'm only kidding. So, thank you all for watching, and I do hope you've enjoyed and got something out of this. From me, Tony Clarkson.
From me, Michael G. Reccia. Goodbye,
bless.
and God bless.
Bye-bye.